darkness comes from the comic series of the same name. It's an ancient entity and is chaos and disorder and evil. The entity is passed down from host to host, specifically men, but there is a female version we will get to next. Like most ancient entities are, it's all-powerful, so therefore its host is too. The current host is Jackie Estacado, and Jackie as a character would be best described as an anti-hero. He's done some good, but also a lot of bad. Jackie is considered the most powerful host the darkness has ever had due to his strong-willed nature. He has many powers, including a healing factor, of course, a darkness armor that makes him incredibly strong and fast, night vision, shape-shifting, flight, and has access to an army of darklings. As a human though, he is a skilled fighter and marksman. The darkness does have a weakness to light and has fought Superman. Of all the things that I learned about this guy, little surprises me anymore after everything you learn about other superheroes. However, I did get whiplash from the fun fact that this guy doesn't drink. Instead, he prefers a glass of hot milk. Silver Streak has quite the origin story. He was a taxi driver, but he really wanted to be a race car driver, so he just applied for it. He ended up getting hypnotized, and while under, he was told he was the Silver Streak, the strongest, bravest, fastest man in the world. But then he got in an accident and passed away. But the thing that hypnotized him brought him back to life, and that was kind of what gave him his powers. In addition to now being the strongest, bravest, and fastest, he also has a secret fluid in his body that defies the laws of gravity, and that is how he could fly. It was later discovered that the magic fluid could transfer to other people through a blood transfusion. Silver Streak gained a sidekick named Meteor doing this. Silver Streak is able to run up walls thanks to some suction shoes, and I just love Golden Age heroes, don't you? Now, it's time for the Witchblade, which is the female version of the darkness, essentially. The darkness's counterpart is Angelus, so she is light and good things. The two entities agreed to a truce to ensure that neither was destroyed, and that truce resulted in the Witchblade. Where the darkness is passed down, the Witchblade searches for a new host after the current one passes. Sarah Pizzini was the Witchblade for a while. As a person, she was determined and smart, as well as trained in combat and fit. So all in all, she was a good choice. Being Witchblade means you are capable of shape-shifting, throwing fire, healing yourself and others, and more just general body enhancements like increased strength and stamina and stuff like that. The Witchblade will also cover its host in armor that adapts to whatever environment and fight they happen to be in. Sarah's fun fact is that she once married Wolverine, the one from Marvel. Up next is Prince Nestor and Quest from the TV show World of Quest. I promise there will only be a couple unserious points on here, including this one. So World of Quest was this show that was on Teletoon when I was a kid, and it was really weird. It followed the Prince of Odyssea, Nestor, in his quest to find the 5 power swords and save his kidnapped parents. He did so with the help of his superpowered friends, one of which was the 1900-year-old superhuman Quest. Quest is the strongest person in the show, incredibly smart, excellent with a sword, just all around a guy that never loses. Prince Nestor doesn't have any powers himself other than the sheer confidence in his abilities that only a 12-year-old can muster, and also the ability to wield the 5 power swords. The swords, they each summon a different element, so we have earth, fire, water, air, and energy. The last sword gives him the power to animate inanimate objects. The show was based on the graphic novel of the same name, and I was actually, fun fact, banned from watching this show as a kid because my parents thought it was too violent and weird. And they were right. Anyone who knows me will not be surprised that Sleepwalker is on this list. I love this guy. You have to feel for Sleepwalker because everyone always thinks he's a villain at first just because he looks a little bit scary. Sleepwalker is his name, but really he's also part of the Sleepwalker race. They protect beings that are sleeping from the evil entities that want to invade their head, so they're dream police. Sleepwalker was tracking one of these beings into the mind of Rick Sheridan, but the villain tricked him into getting trapped in Rick's mind. Sleepwalker can't separate from his host. In fact, the only time he was able to exist outside of his host was when Rick was sleeping. If Rick was awake, Sleepwalker simply existed in the back of his mind. Rick eventually figured out that he had an alien attached to him and he didn't take it well. He figured that if he never slept again, the alien would never come out. And then he did eventually just pass out in public from exhaustion. The pair come to realize that they aren't getting out of this and form a hero-host bond, and Sleepwalker is able to exist when his host is awake. Sleepwalker's powers include warp gaze, which is he twists and alters the shape of physical objects, even people. Thankfully, he refuses to do that to a person because that would be traumatizing. Sleepwalker should get more spotlight because he is a proven asset to a team. Not only is he a great fighter, he can also enhance mental powers just by being around the hero with them, so that's like Professor X, Jean Grey, Doctor Strange, and you cannot tell me Sleepwalker would not be an excellent addition to a super team. Space Ghost is another Hanna-Barbera super creation. He was originally created for the 1960s TV show Space Ghost, but over the years he has appeared in movies, other TV shows, once teaming up with Batman, and has had multiple comics written about and or featuring him, most notably Green Lantern / Space Ghost special from 2017. Space Ghost hails from Ghost Planet, but you will see him everywhere because his job is essentially space police. Any distress signals sent out, he will likely respond to, which is exactly what happened in that Green Lantern crossover. They both happen to answer the exact same call. As the type to need to travel across the universe, the hero can survive in the vacuum of space. He also has the ability to turn invisible, fly, and has these things called power bands. They're just 2 arm cuffs that let him shoot concentrated energy blasts. Captain Comet, also known as Adam Blake, is a mutant for DC. When you hear mutant in the superhero context, most people think Marvel, but DC has some too. Captain Comet being one of them, of course. Born way before his time, 100,000 years before. He is described as the first man of the future. The old Adam and the newer version of Adam have very similar origin stories. When he was born, a comet flew across the sky emitting a bunch of radiation. That radiation triggered Adam's cells into multi-genetic cell growth, which caused him to develop mental powers. As he grew up, he realized not only was he mentally strong, but physically too, he was indestructible. Other powers of his include telepathy, teleportation, poison immunity, telekinesis, clairvoyance, photographic memory, and he can just read people really well, know how much of a fight they'll put up, how they're feeling at any given moment. Truly, this guy seems like a powerhouse that I would love to see more of. And last but not least, Radiant Black from the Massiverse. The Radiant is a cosmic power that first appeared as a floating black orb. When Nathan Burnett got a bit too close to it, it latched onto him, giving him a really cool suit and set of powers, and Radiant Black came to be. Radiant Black's powers are manipulating gravity and shooting energy blasts. Right off the bat, with the power, Nathan is able to make a couple people and an entire train float, as well as fly away from the scene. There are other Radiants, like Red, this one grants the power of matter absorption, Pink, this one is for portals, and Yellow is for seeing across time and space. This comic is a bit newer, with the first issue released in February of 2021.
At number 10 is Steel Spider. Oliver Osnick was a bit of a fanboy for Dr. Octopus. I mean, I don't really see why you would see this supervillain as a role model, but I digress. Anyway, Ollie wanted to be Doc Ock's sidekick, so he made these metal tentacles to impress him. But surprise, surprise, he eventually found out that Doc Ock wasn't exactly a role model worth following. That's where Spidey swooped in to save the day. Spider-Man showed him the ropes, and Ollie had a change of heart. He redesigned those tentacles into legs, and bam, the Steel Spider was born. He tried the hero gig for a bit, but life eventually got a bit too complicated. He hung up his super cape, should I say his metallic legs, for a while, hit the books at college, but then he came back during the whole Civil War debacle. Now, here's the kicker. Venom eventually would go on to bite his arm off, which was pretty rough. After that, things got hazy. Last we knew, he got caught up in the Superhuman Registration Act mess and ended up in medical prison. Poor guy just trying to do good, but got tangled up in a whole web of complications. At number 9 is Yuri Watanabe's Wraith. Yuri Watanabe used to work for the NYPD and was literally the only cop who had Spidey's back, while the rest of the entire task force weren't too keen on the web slinger. She and Spidey were doing alright as a duo until the supervillain named Massacre showed up. Tried as they might, they couldn't stop his rampage in time, and this failure led to Yuri getting the boot from the case, and she wasn't too happy about it, to say the least. So what does she do? She reinvents herself as Wraith. No cape, no superpowers, just her brains, her detective skills, and some nifty little gadgets to help her take down the bad guys on her own terms. Now, Spider-Man wasn't completely on board with her solo gig, given her total lack of powers and whatnot. But when push came to shove, they did team up to tackle Mr. Negative. Now, even though Yuri was included in Insomniac's Spider-Man game, many many fans still don't think that minor appearance did the character true justice, so we're hoping that changes in the future. If you're enjoying the video so far, please take a second to support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 are the Brooklyn Avengers. These guys got their powers in the most bizarre way possible, thanks to their landlord and some radioactive bedbug spray. Yeah, imagine that. They're like the accidental superheroes of Brooklyn. So back in the day when Peter Parker was still a budding superhero, he teamed up with this crew, which included Psi and Phi, two telekinetic brothers. The Hipster, that's Hipst with an apostrophe R, pretty cool, who's an old dude who could hypnotize people. Paintball, who could generate paint bursts, kind of like a weaker version of Squid Kid from Splatoon. We also got Boilermaker, who's an intuitive machinist. Mints, who could charge candies into weapons. And Rotary, who could spin any object around. Yeah, seems like some of these guys hold the short end of the stick when it comes to their powers. Now, even despite some of these powers being still a little lame, Spidey still managed to learn some cool moves from them, skills that would actually come in handy later on in his crime-fighting escapades. Now, fast forward a bit, and things took a turn for the worst for this superhero team. Someone starts knocking off these Brooklyn Avengers one by one. Spider-Man, being the good guy he is, jumps back in to help out his pals. You know how these superhero stories go, there's all kinds of chaos. Their whole apartment building eventually got wrecked in the process. Despite the setback, these Brooklyn Avengers are resilient. They decide to stick around and help keep their neighborhood safe, even though they haven't made a comeback in Marvel Comics ever since. Who knows, maybe someday they'll swing back into action. At number 7 are the Slingers. So the origins for this one is a bit crazy, as Spider-Man got into some trouble he didn't ask for when he was framed for a crime he didn't commit. Thanks a lot, Norman Osborn. To clear his name, Spidey came up with 4 new superhero identities and rocked these 4 unique cool costumes. But once the mess was sorted out, he ditched those personas and went back to being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Now here's where the plot thickens. You see, Black Marvel, an old retired hero, got his hands on those snazzy outfits and decided to hand them to 4 college kids. These young guns put on those suits and boom! One day you're a regular student and the next you're rocking a superhero suit fighting crime. These teens became the group known as the Slingers. Led by Prodigy, an expert freestyle wrestler with boosted strength thanks to his super suit. His team of Slingers also includes Dusk, who rocks a suit made from antimatter in the negative zone, which allows her to teleport, manipulate dark force energy, and she's also clairvoyant. Then there's the Hornet, a genius inventor slash expert in all things hard and software slash Olympic level athlete who actually had made his own Prowler suit first before being given the Hornet wings. And lastly there's Ricochet, who has superhuman agility and who can chuck discs that deliver incredible force that also may explode on impact. The former monikers of Peter Parker may not be as famous as Spider-Man, but they're out there making a difference, one sling at a time. At number 6 is Solo. Solo is a lesser known ally of Spider-Man in the Marvel comic universe, whose name is actually James Bourne, a military man betrayed by his own team who transformed into Solo, a guy who's all about hunting down terrorists and bad guys. He's got this cool thing going on where he can also teleport, which definitely sets him apart from your average crime-fighting crew. Now, Solo doesn't always see eye to eye with Spidey, especially since Solo doesn't mind ending people. Nevertheless, sometimes they've got to team up to tackle some big bads together, sort of like a good cop, bad cop duo, but with superpowers. They've faced off against some serious threats side by side, making for some pretty epic comic moments. Plus, Solo even had a stint with Deadpool's crew of not-so-heroic heroes, the Mercs for Money. But staying true to his calling, he went back to his solo gig, fighting crime his own way. At number 5 is Nightwatch. Nightwatch, who honestly looks like a knockoff Spawn, albeit, and dare I say, slightly cooler looking with his demonic skull-shaped insignia on his face. Anywho, in the far future, he holds the moniker of Night Eater, who repents and attempts to undo his image as a villain, and so he resorts to altering the past. Now taking on the heroic moniker of Nightwatch, he actually would eventually try to reset everything and escape his now heroic responsibilities, but he was dragged back into heroism once more to stop a dude who had stolen parts of his costume. Eventually, he'd team up with Spidey against Carnage's chaos in New York City, leading to Nightwatch getting offed by a pair of criminals during the Great Game comic arc, but thanks to some comic book logic, he managed to survive. Now, eventually, She-Hulk would unravel the truth about his alternate future as a villain, and the reformed hero now faces the music behind bars. At number 4 is El Muerto. So picture a whole family of luchador wrestlers passing down a mystical mask called El Muerto that gives them extra powers, which is basically the setup for Juan Carlos Estrada's story. Now, poor Juan gets handed this responsibility, but ends up flubbing it by losing in a fight against a villain named El Dorado. The consequence is that Juan's got to beat Spider-Man to get his groove back, but that plan flops too. But But instead of being all, I'm the hero, you're the loser, Spidey's like, let's team up, because got some moves, bud. Together they take down El Dorado, and Spider-Man helps Juan find his path. After that, Juan kind of fades into the background, occasionally popping up in some storylines. Now, El Muerto might not be the headline act, but that team up with Spider-Man was a pretty neat moment for this underrated ally. Coming up third is Bluebird. Back when Peter Parker first got his powers, Sally was right there in his world. She was full of energy, always seeking thrills, which often landed her in trouble. One time, she stumbled into a showdown between Spider-Man and Electro, but it was at this moment when Sally decided to become a DIY hero, suiting up as Bluebird. However, she was more of a bother than a help to Spider-Man, not really listening to warnings to stay out of it. Sadly, her heroic stint ended tragically as she perished in a car crash. Later on, a clone of Sally would show up, but it's unclear if this one survived for real or vanished like the rest of the clones. At number 2 is Shock. Shock might not be the most famous Spider-Man buddy, but this guy deserves a little bit of spotlight. Todd Field's just a regular dude whose dad worked for the bad guys, but only because he had no choice. Todd's dad was trying to make a powerful suit that taps into some crazy dark force dimension. But tragedy struck when a villain named the Crown offed Todd's dad and yoinked the suit. Todd, fueled by revenge and determination, rebuilt the suit, becoming the electrifying hero, Shock. He and Spidey teamed up, taking down the Crown by overloading his suit. Now, Shock would eventually get caught up in some bad stuff, get zombified by the Hand, and taken down. Luckily, Wolverine and the team at S.H.I.E.L.D. helped him out, fixing his now zombified mind. Since then, nobody knows where Shock is, but man, he deserves more credit for his electrifying heroics. And at number 1 is Cardiac. Cardiac is a superhero who's kind of like the Punisher, but instead of taking down the Mafia, he's tackling the messed up healthcare system. So he's got a sick costume, cool gadgets, and a heart replaced by a fancy device called a beta particle reactor, which gives him powers that no regular human could have. Now, his origin story hits pretty hard. Elias Wortham, Cardiac's alter ego, lost his brother to an incurable disease. Motivated by tragedy, he studied medicine and ended up in a pharmaceutical company's board. But here's the kicker. This is where he discovered that the pharmaceutical company had actually hid a cure that could have saved his brother's life. Why? Because it wouldn't have made them as much money, obviously. That's the harsh reality Cardiac reflects, a system valuing profit over people's well-being. He's not just a regular hero. He fights with a sense of justice and moral obligation, making him a standout character deserving more recognition. He's not just muscles and gadgets, though. He's super smart, a genius in fact, and a skilled surgeon. But his beta reactor of a heart always needs recharging, and if it fails, he's in for some trouble. Now, his gear is super awesome too. He has a staff that shoots energy blasts and a high-tech glider for quick flights. All in all, Cardiac is a hero taking on big problems with a big heart, or well, a big beta particle reactor heart. Number 10 is Atom Smasher. No, I'm not talking about Atom Smasher from cyberpunk lore. I'm talking about the lesser-known Atom Smasher, as in the atomic particle smasher, aka Robert Julian Rothstein, who was a big deal in the DC world, literally, not figuratively. Picture this, he's a hero who could grow super big, towering over trees, and packing a punch that could knock anybody out. Now, despite his mega size and power, he didn't get the spotlight he deserved in many big storylines. But there was one storyline where he did in fact prove himself. Atom Smasher did something huge, literally and figuratively this time, by kicking a tyrant out of power in Kahndaq. Leading a team of rebel do-gooders, he flexed his muscles, showing bravery and fought for what he thought was right. His powers on display played a big role in taking down the bad guys, and his actions reshaped the DC universe by returning control to the people of Kahndaq. Atom Smasher might not have been in the headlines all the time, but when he stepped up, he changed the game for the better. At number 9 is Saturn Girl. Saturn Girl is a seriously underrated superhero in the DC universe. She's all about telepathy, a superpower that lets her read minds and communicate without even speaking. But despite her awesome abilities, she's often overlooked, just like the rest of her crew, the Legion of Superheroes. The team doesn't always get the credit it deserves, always living in the shadow of bigger superhero groups like the Justice League or Justice Society of America. But here's the kicker. Saturn Girl once saved the entire timeline. Yeah, you heard that right. A girl who just communicates with her thoughts saved the multiverse. She used her mind mojo to gather every Legion member across different universes to take down the big bad guy, the Time Trapper. Without her, who knows what kind of chaos would have happened. Saturn Girl might not be as famous as Superman or Wonder Woman, but her brain power packs a serious punch when it's used correctly. She's a legend in her own right, even if not everybody knows about it. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support Top 10 Nerd by pressing like, subscribing to the channel, and ringing that notification bell. It helps the video get pushed out to more people, and I would really appreciate it, so do that. Thank you very much. Moving on to number 8, we have Mr. Terrific. Michael Holt, also known as Mr. Terrific, doesn't just juggle lasers like they're nothing. I mean, this guy's got brains and brawn. He's all about saving the day and helping people out, but he doesn't get the credit he deserves. This dude's a top-notch genius and can do some seriously amazing things with his smarts. I'm talking about being the big shot in the Justice Society of America and being labeled as the smartest member ever. Mr. Terrific isn't just book smart though, he's a wizard with tech too. He pulled off some mind-blowing stuff against Brother Eye and saved Selena Kyle's life by putting her heart right where it belonged. Bottom line, Mr. Terrific doesn't always get the spotlight often, but when he does, it's because he's using that epic brain of his to pull off some seriously epic moves. At number 7, The Question. Question is an often overlooked figure, especially the version portrayed by Renee Montoya. Renee, a skilled detective, swaps the comfort of accolades for the shadows of vigilantism, seeking to create genuine change. Despite her remarkable career, the Question remains in obscurity, deprived of the rightful recognition she deserves. Not all strength comes from overt displays of power, as we've just seen. Renee embodies the strength through resilience. After grappling with the toll of her superhero life on her mental well-being, she'd stepped away from the role. But when duty called, she did not hesitate to don the Question's identity once more. Her willingness to confront personal struggles and yet rise to the challenge when needed showcases a different kind of fortitude. Her story emphasizes that strength isn't just about physical prowess. It's about determination to confront the inner battles and still step up to protect others when the call comes. At number 6, Vixen's one cool hero you might not have heard much about. She's in the Justice League, but hasn't got much attention as some other big names. What makes her special is how she taps into the powers of animals, like she channels their abilities thanks to this totem passed down through generations. Any animal she could think of, bam, she can manifest the strength of a lion or the speed of a cheetah, and so on and so forth. The latest Vixen, Marie McCabe, has done some seriously awesome stuff. Like, she became the boss of the Justice League. Leading the top squad of superheroes is kind of a big deal. Only a handful of heroes have ever done that, and like their names are Batman and Batman. And to get the thumbs up from Batman himself to take charge is pretty massive. It shows that she's not just tough, but smart and reliable too. It's like being the team captain of an all-star team. A ton of pressure, but also a big honor. At number 5 is Ragman. Ragman is seriously underrated in the DC universe. He's not in the spotlight much, but he is seriously powerful. Rory Reagan, the guy inside the Ragman suit, can control it like it's an extension of himself. This suit's not just a fashion statement, it's also a serious weapon. It protects Reagan and also kicks some serious bad guy butt. His suit's got this cool power that can absorb the souls of evil people. Pretty heavy stuff. Ragman isn't afraid to take on big bad demons. He once faced a whole fleet of demons and saved the Earth, which is definitely no small feat. Even though he did take a beating, he came out on top and really showed how brave and heroic he is. DC should totally give this guy more screen time, as he deserves to be up there with the big leagues like Superman and Wonder Woman. At number 4 is Spoiler. There's no spoilers, don't worry guys. The hero's name is Spoiler. Also known as Stephanie Brown, she might not ring a bell as loud as other big names in the Bat family, but she is a superhero worth knowing about. She didn't just follow in somebody else's footsteps, as she carved her own path. As Spoiler, she stepped up big time, especially when facing off against a colossal baddie named Brother Eye. Now this villain here is no joke, like big league Justice level big. But Stephanie wasn't afraid to take him head on. When Brother Eye tried to mess things up using a different timeline, Stephanie didn't just freak out. Instead, she used that timeline to her advantage, brought heroes from that time to help her out. And if it weren't for her guts and quick thinking, things in the DC world might have turned out totally different. The next time you hear about Bat Family superheroes, don't forget to give some props to Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, because she's a real unsung hero in the DC universe. At number 3 is Killer Frost. Dylan Snow, known as Killer Frost, doesn't totally get the spotlight she deserves, although she is kind of heavily featured on this channel. Initially seen as a bad guy, she's been trying hard to change that image. Imagine going from total baddie to trying to do the good stuff is a massive leap. Killer Frost wasn't just chilling out. pun intended, as a villain, she had to battle her own past and nature to become a hero. Now what's cool about her is the determination she showed. It's like fighting against the odds, clawing her way out of the dark side. The transformation from an icy antagonist to a legit Justice League member is pretty huge, and not everybody gets that chance. So yeah, Killer Frost might not be as famous, but she's definitely earned her stripes. She's proof that even the chilliest hearts can thaw out for the better. At number 2 is the Human Target. Christopher Chance, better known as Human Target, is a hero in the shadows of DC Comics. His superpower? Transforming into anybody to safeguard important folks. He also has awesome detective skills, which make him a top-notch problem solver. But what makes him truly stand out is his selflessness. He once shielded Bruce Wayne from Deadshot's deadly aim. But he didn't just save the day, he shielded Batman's secret identity too, using his face-swapping talents. Human Target's heroics go unnoticed. He's like this secret guardian angel for all the big shots, and yet few ever give him the applause he deserves. Imagine having the guts to confront a villain like Deadshot, risking your own life just to keep others safe. It's these unsung heroes like Human Target who deserve a spot in the limelight. And coming in at number 1 is Batwing. Luke Fox, as Batwing in DC Comics, is seriously underrated. Now he's one of those heroes who doesn't get enough credit because, well, I mean, Batman's got this big shadow covering everybody else in Gotham. But Luke, he's no sidekick, you guys. He's a force to be reckoned with. There was one time in the comics when Gotham was about to get nuked by the League of Assassins. Now Luke didn't just sit around twiddling his thumbs. No, he got right in the thick of it. I mean, sure, he got nabbed alongside Azrael, but that didn't stop him. After busting out, he used his smarts to defuse the bomb that would have wiped out all of Gotham. It's definitely top-tier hero stuff. It's a shame, really, that more folks don't really give Batwing the credit he deserves, given that, you know, he's hardly the most unique Bat character in all of DC. Yet, he's super awesome. He's not just another guy in a cool bat suit. He's got the brains, the guts, and the will to save the day when it counts the most. At number 10 is Cardiac. Cardiac is a superhero who's kind of like the Punisher, but instead of taking down the Mafia, he's tackling the messed up healthcare system. He's got a cool costume, cool gadgets, and a heart replaced by a fancy device called the Beta Particle Reactor. This thing gives him powers like no regular human could have. He's got this vibranium mesh all over him, making him super stealthy. As for as bulky as his suit is, it doesn't make a sound when he moves. And also, he's crazy strong, like 15 tons strong. Plus, he's faster than any Olympic sprinter, and he can keep going without getting tired. But his origin story is what hits really hard. Elias Wortham, Cardiac's alter ego, lost his brother to an incurable disease. Motivated by this tragedy, he studied medicine and ended up in a pharmaceutical company's board. But here's the kicker. While working there, Elias discovered that they hid a cure that could have saved his brother. Why? Well, because it wouldn't have made nearly as much money. That's the harsh reality Cardiac reflects, a system valuing profit over people's well-being. He's not just a typical hero, he fights with a sense of justice and moral obligation, making him a standout character deserving more recognition. A miniseries dedicated to him could shed the light on real-world issues within the healthcare industry. He's not just muscles and gadgets though, he's super smart, like a genius, and a skilled surgeon. But here's the catch. His heart needs recharging, and if it fails, he's in for trouble. He's got all kinds of high-tech stuff like shooting energy blasts and a hang glider for quick flights even. All in all, Cardiac is a hero taking on big problems with a big heart, or rather a big particle reactor. At number 9 is the God Squad. The God Squad in Marvel Comics might not ring a bell for many, but they are a powerhouse of a crew you just cannot overlook. I mean, seriously, it's crazy that nobody knows about this divine team up. Picture this. At one point or another, the squad had the likes of Thor, Venus, Cersei, the Silver Surfer, Snowboard, Makabashi, Ajax, Amadeus Cho, Adam, and freaking Galactus teaming up to tackle massive threats. God Squad was assembled at the behest of Athena in order to fight against the Skrull Pantheon. Now what's unique about the God Squad is that they're a mix of deities that come from a vast variety of different cultures teaming up against mega threats. Think of it kind of like Marvel's A-Team of gods facing up against the baddest of bad guys. It's like a crash course in mythology, but Marvel style. Imagine if Marvel decided to give these guys heroes more comic time, or better yet, give them a chance chance on the big screen. A spin-off from Thor or Eternals could open a whole new world of epic battles and ancient stories. Who knows, maybe in the next big Marvel movie we'll get to see the God Squad take on some universe-threatening villains. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is Rage. Rage is a Marvel superhero who's kinda got Luke Cage powers and personality, but sadly doesn't get nearly as much attention as Luke Cage does. He joined the Avengers way before Cage did, but got less spotlight after quitting. He told them that real heroes do more than just fight bad guys. In the comics, Rage's story is pretty twisty. He's been in the Avengers, the Initiative, and the New Warriors, sometimes seen as a villain and a hero. He started heroing super young by lying to fit in with the top heroes. But here's the thing, Rage isn't always liked by other heroes. He's made mistakes because of his anger issues and faced rejection. He struggles with big stuff like race, age, and what being a hero really means. And that's why he's super underrated in the Marvel world. At number 7 is Sentry. So here's the lowdown on Sentry. His alter ego is Bob Reynolds, a regular dude who gets injected with this crazy experimental serum that turns him into the Sentry, and his powers are out of this world. He's got strength matching the Hulk, he can fly faster than Superman, and he packs enough energy to make the sun jealous. But here's where it gets really interesting. This dude's got some serious mental baggage. He's got this whole Jekyll and Hyde thing going on, because on one side he's the Sentry, all about saving the day, being a hero, and stopping bad guys. Then there's the flip side, the Void, where things get really dark. Part of him that can basically tear entire galaxies apart, making Hulk look like a kitten in comparison. See, the deal is Sentry's struggle with his dual personality makes for some seriously intense stories. Like, come on, a schizophrenic superhero with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns who can either save galaxies or destroy them? That's freaking awesome! But here's the kicker. Marvel hasn't given this guy as much spotlight as he deserves. Seriously, he's got potential for some mind-blowing tales, but they've just been keeping him in the shadows. With powers like his, you would expect him leading the Avengers or headlining big events, but no, he's just been kept in the background. It's like having a Ferrari and just using it for grocery shopping. It just doesn't add up. Marvel needs to rev up Sentry's storyline because he's a character with the potential to blow minds. At number 6 is Hank Pym. Dr. Henry Jonathan Pym is one of those Marvel superheroes that doesn't always get the spotlight, but trust me, his story is pretty intense. Imagine being haunted by guilt and self-doubt like all the time. That's pretty much Hank Pym for you. He's a complicated dude, dealing with things like bipolar disorder and depression, even coming close to giving up on life once. But you know what's impressive? Despite all this, he's still focused on helping humanity through science and heroism. Hank's journey wasn't all smooth sailing. There's the whole arc called the Trial of the Yellow Jacket, where he hits absolute rock bottom. Imagine feeling like you messed up big time and letting your friends down. He faces consequences, seeks redemption, and finally, he owns up to his mistakes. That's character growth right there. But then things got tough again. Ultron, Hank's creation, got him tons of guilt. It's heartbreaking to see him struggle even when he's trying to be an Avenger again. He battles inner demons, his fears, and a messed up relationship with Janet. It's a roller coaster of emotions. Later on, writers didn't do Hank Pym justice, painting him as a punching bag in the Bendis era. But Avengers Academy does him justice, showing his heroic side as a mentor to troubled kids. Hank, like all of us, struggles with mental health and trying to fit in, which hits close to home for many. He represents anyone seeking a second chance, which is super heroic in its own way. At number 5 is Layla Miller. Forget what you saw in House of M, that wasn't the real Layla. The one who matters is in X Factor Volume 3 by Peter David. So there's this mutant detective agency, and Layla just walks in and starts working there. She's not your typical superhero, she's a mastermind. She's like a problem solver who knows everything before it happens. See, there's this bad guy, Damien Turp, who's a time-traveling troublemaker. He tries to mess up X Factor's plans, but Layla is steps ahead, tricking an assassin and taking him out without breaking a sweat. She's the reason Tripp's schemes fall apart, and she does all this while saying she just kinda knows stuff. I mean, seriously, Layla is so cool that even the top villains like Dr. Doom and the King of all Hells owe her favors. At number 4 is Songbird. Songbird, aka Melissa Gold, has a roller coaster of a storyline in the comics. Starting out as a baddie, but later finding her way to the good side, she's had quite the journey. Her backstory is no walk in the park either. Runaway life, family troubles, the whole shebang. Now what makes Songbird stand out is her powers. She can manipulate sound like nobody's business. She's got these implants and enhancements that let her do some seriously cool stuff like sonic blasts, force fields made out of sound. She can even craft solid objects like weapons or platforms using sound waves. And flying, she's got that down too. But hold your hats because there's more. Songbird can mess with people's heads using her voice. I'm talking mind control here, though it's easier with weaker-minded folks. In a nutshell, Songbird's got this killer power set that Marvel could dive into way more. She's got the potential to shake things up big time, especially in the Thunderbolts crew. Is yet another street fighting powerhouse with powers akin to Luke Cage. This dude, a former UWC fighter, got juiced up with powers by Dr. Carl Malice, which sounds cool at first, but here's the twist. Along with those powers, he got hooked on a substance that was supposed to keep him going strong, but instead, it messed up his mind big time, amping up his aggression. Demolition Man rolled with Daredevil, Captain America, and even kicked it with the Avengers, but after all this, after all that superhero cred, he ended up forgotten, wandering the streets in his old getup, homeless. It's a sad deal. He had a heart of gold, but somehow got lost in the shuffle of Marvel big names. At number 2 is Daredevil. Daredevil doesn't nearly get the credit he deserves. I mean, lots of folks who aren't into comics just see him as a blind dude in a red suit. They think that he's an easy win for anybody, but that's not true. Matt Murdock's powers are rad, not lame. It's probably because that old Ben Affleck movie totally messed things up for him. They completely got his powers wrong. Like, people think he only sees with sounds, like echolocation or something, but that's so off. He's way cooler than that. Murdock was originally enhanced by radioactive isotope, which later blinded him, and as a result, he possesses superhuman senses, agility, reflexes, balance, and etc. Murdock's nervous system has also increased some of his abilities at peak human level. See, Daredevil can sense everything around him perfectly. He doesn't need to tap stuff to see. He's not just about hearing, he's got a full-on super sense thing going on. But it's frustrating that so many people don't get it. But you know what? Maybe it's better this way, because being underrated might be why he gets the best stories. If he was big as Spider-Man or Batman, writers might mess up his character, so maybe it's cool that he flies under the radar. And coming in at number 1 is Iceman. Alright, let's get something straight here. Bobby Drake is one of the most powerful superheroes, period. Because his superpower isn't ice or cold, it's based on molecular motion. He has the power to influence the speed of molecules, thus making things colder, which is obscenely powerful. He's been shown to prevent nuclear explosions. He's created ice walls so thick and strong it contain the Hulk. With a single thought, he can freeze the molecules and dissipate an entire person's body. He has the ability to block other mutants from accessing their powers too. In organic ice form, you can destroy his body, and he's still able to reform it, essentially making him close to unkillable. He can use surrounding moisture to grow in size and gaining superhuman strength in the process. Even though he's done all these things, he still hasn't tapped into his full potential. Now, while most of us astute nerds know about hydrokinesis, allowing control over water molecules, there's more beneath the surface. He's manipulated water to turn himself into it, journeying through its very molecules. Yet his lesser known ability involves cellular replacement. Bobby discovered that he could draw ambient moisture into himself, using it to replace his own cells one piece at a time. This adaptation lets him sidestep fatal neurotoxins by dissipating poison molecules into vapor and substituting untainted ones from his surroundings. Thus, he effectively heals and renews his body pretty much on command, demonstrating that as long as moisture exists, Iceman stands invincible, a testament to the hidden layers of the mightiest superhuman narratives. At number 10 is Tigra, a superhero who's basically a giant talking cat. Tiger. Personally, I'm a dog person, so it's easy to see why Tigra would be so underestimated. After all, she's hardly the most well-known feline superhero out there. Nevertheless, she's got all the cool feline powers: razor-sharp claws, agility like you wouldn't believe, and a tail that's more than just for show. All pretty generic, but there's one moment in the comics that truly made her stand out. See, Tigra once took down a Skrull who had all the powers of the Fantastic Four combined. Yeah, we're talking about a Skrull with stretchy abilities, fire powers, rock-hard strength, and invisibility. Like, forget the Fantastic Four, this dude was fantastic on his ones. And Tigra, she outsmarted and outpaced this Super Skrull in a face-off. Even when the Skrull had a speed boost from the Human Torch's fire, Tigra showed that she's the real speed demon here. Now, even though Tigra doesn't always hog the spotlight like some of the other big names in the Marvel Universe, she's still an Avenger, so while Tigra might not be on everyone's superhero lunchbox, she's definitely got the skills and the guts to hang out with Earth's mightiest heroes. At number 9 is Sunspot. Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot, isn't your typical superhero. Not only does he have the whole rich guy thing going for him, but his powers are seriously cool too. He's basically a human solar panel, able to absorb energy and turn it into super strength. Now, the moment when he faced off against the Red Hulk was legendary. I mean, going toe-to-toe with a Hulk takes some serious guts. Sunspot's determination and his solar-powered might were on full display here. He launched a punch so strong, it actually drew blood from the Red Hulk. That's like leaving a dent in a brick wall by punching it. It's basically unheard of. Now, what makes him even cooler is the dude typically holds back from unleashing his full fury. In fact, he barely ever needs to throw punches at all. Sunspot usually relies on his charisma and brains instead of flaunting his powers. But when he does decide to unleash that solar strength, watch out, because there's a lot more to him than just his hefty bank account. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is Reptil. Reptil is a hero with some seriously cool but kind of underrated powers, transforming into dinosaurs. Like, you're in a fight and bam, you can morph into a T-Rex or a raptor, and that's pretty much Reptil's shtick, and it's super awesome. But what's even cooler is that it's gonna take a lot more than a flimsy extinction rock from space to take this dude down. Like, you thought meteors were scary? Try surviving a nuclear blast. Yeah, you heard that right. Apparently, that's where Reptil really shines. At Avengers Arena number 18, this guy survives a direct nuclear explosion. He walks out of it without a scratch, no radiation poisoning, nada. It's not something that just any superhero can boast about. Like, even big shots like Namor were impressed. But handling those dino forms is also quite tricky business. He risks losing control every time he switches into a dinosaur, which adds a hefty dose of risk to his superhero game. So while Reptil might not be headlining Marvel movies or comics, surviving a nuclear blast speaks volumes about his toughness. I mean, turning into dinos might not be as flashy as shooting lasers, let's say, but hey, he's got a serious resilience. Definitely a hero worth giving some more credit to. At number 7 is Speedball. You know, Speedball might not be the first hero that comes to mind when you think of Marvel track stars, but this guy has an incredible story worth talking about. See, back in the day, he was part of the New Warriors, a team that wasn't exactly grabbing the headlines like the Avengers or the X-Men. In fact, his team ended up becoming a bit satirical, with its final incarnation taking the form of a superheroed reality show, which doesn't quite sound so serious. But here's the thing, leading up to Marvel's Civil War, things got super serious for Speedball. His team faced off against this bad guy named Nitro, and let's just say they underestimated him big time, seeing as they may have been a bit more occupied with their show's ratings than actually taking down the bad guy, which was a major mistake. Nitro set off this insane explosion in Stamford that wiped out the entire city and everybody on the scene except for Speedball. Can you imagine? 600 people gone in a blink of an eye, including all of Speedball's superpowered pals. But this guy, his powers that involve bouncing around and soaking up energy, somehow managed to survive. At number 6 is Mimic. This guy's got the wild mutant ability called Power Mimicry, which means he can copy the abilities of not 1, not 2, but up to 5 different superhumans all at once. It's like having a superpower sampler platter. And it gets even crazier. Mimic isn't limited to just mutant abilities, because he can also mimic non-mutant powers like those of the Fantastic Four. Plus, after hanging out with these superpowered folks for a while, he can consciously switch up and choose which abilities to use on command. In Exiles number 14, Namor the Submariner is on a conquest to claim Latveria, and who steps up? None other than Mimic himself. And these two heavyweights go at it for nearly an hour, and ultimately, Mimic wins. Not only taking down Namor, but a whole army of Doombots all by himself. Some serious superhero muscle right there. As a member of an alternate universe Exiles team from Earth 12, he doesn't nearly get the same recognition as Earth 616 heroes, but it doesn't make him any less powerful. At number 5 is Nova. Sam Alexander is the second incarnation of Nova, taking up after his father after discovering the Nova helmet and using its powers to protect the galaxy. At face value, he sounds kind of generic, especially with his supernova strength and speed, especially since he's overshadowed by his dad so often. But Nova is arguably much more powerful because the kid just can't seem to catch a break. In the final issues of Avengers vs. X-Men, he goes toe-to-toe with Cyclops. And if you think that's impressive, wait till I tell you that Cyclops was imbued with the Phoenix Force. And believe it or not, this kid freaking won. That's like a David and Goliath moment right there. At number 4 is Aurora. Ever heard of Aurora? She's this awesome, super fast hero with some seriously underrated powers. Sure, her twin brother Northstar gets a lot of attention, but Aurora's abilities are top-notch too. In a scene from X-Men number 191, Aurora and Northstar casually destroy X-Mansion, showing off their immense powers. But when Northstar's gotta take a moment to catch his breath, Aurora just doesn't hold back, and goes on the brink of wiping out the whole mutant crew single-handedly. She was a hair away from total domination. Now the thing is, she's got it all: speed, flight, and control over light. Yet she's often sidelined compared to her brother. It's like everybody's sleeping on her massive potential. At number 3 is Speed. Speed, also known as Tommy Shepard, might not be on the A-list like Iron Man or Spidey, but he is seriously impressive. You see, Speed isn't just any speedster. He inherited his uncle Quicksilver's velocity, which automatically makes him one of the fastest folks in the Marvel universe. As one of Scarlet Witch's 2 sons, he often gets overshadowed by his brother Wiccan. Now, obviously Wiccan's powers are a lot more versatile, given that he does all things magic and Speed just kind of runs fast. But don't get it twisted, Wiccan's magic ain't got nothing on Speed's, well, speed. Why, you ask? Well, you see, Wiccan can teleport. Now, one would think that means he could outpace his brother, and that was put to the test in Young Avengers Presents number 3, where the 2 brothers raced against each other. Speed did the unbelievable, outpacing his teleporting brother in a race. Imagine that, outrunning somebody who can spontaneously manifest from one spot to another in an instant. That kind of speed is insane. It's moments like these where you wonder why Speed doesn't get more recognition. He's got the speed, the skills, and definitely the power to shake things up in the Marvel world. At number 2 is Tempo. You know, Tempo might not be the first superhero that pops in your mind when you think of Marvel, but trust me, she's one of the most badass time manipulators in the game. She used to hang out with the Mutant Liberation Front, rocking that iconic bullet-headed suit, but things got real interesting when she joined Krakoa. Suddenly, she had a shot at being a part of the X-Men crew, and that's when folks started noticing her. But the moment when Tempo truly proved herself came in the Marauders series. Until this point, Tempo was only known for slowing or stopping time, but here, she doesn't just stop time, she flips it like a pancake, sending time backwards by billions of years. Yeah, that's right, billions with a B. It's telling me that her first time traveling, she accomplished a feat of such magnitude that most other time travelers couldn't even dream of. This isn't your average hero, she's like the time-traveling wizard of the Marvel universe. I mean, sure, she might not have the same spotlight as other time travelers like Kang, but Tempo is proving herself to be a powerhouse you definitely don't want to underestimate. At number 1 is Hellion. Imagine facing off against one of the toughest superheroes out there, the Hulk. Yeah, Sunspot isn't the only one who stood up against the giant. Enter this dude. Despite being a young hero, he pulled off something insanely epic. In a comic called World War Hulk X-Men number 1, he did the unthinkable. Using his telekinetic powers, he locked the Hulk's fist, giving his team a chance to regroup for battle. Yeah, you heard me right, y'all. A teenager managed to hold back the mighty Hulk's fists with his mind. Now, obviously that didn't last forever, but just managing to hold back the strongest force in the multiverse? Come on now, this guy should be a superstar. Now, he might not be as famous as some other Marvel heroes, but he's proven he's got some serious skills. Surviving tough situations and facing off against baddies like the Hulk shows he's definitely one to watch in the underrated superhero league.
Coming in at number 10 is Takuya Yamashiro. Instead of being Peter Parker, the Japanese Spider-Man is Takuya Yamashiro, a motocross racer and son of astrophysicist Dr. Hiroshi Yamashiro. Now, unlike most other versions of Spider-Man, Takuya was introduced through the live-action Japanese Spider-Man TV show, and with that, his character differs quite a bit. For starters, his spider powers are a little bit less powerful due to the budget constraints for the show, which is a hilarious reason. But don't you dare think that makes this guy a pushover. To make up for his less powerful spider powers, Takuya has a massive kaiju fighting mech named Leopardon or Leopardon, Power Ranger style, with arm rockets, an absolutely massive sword, and a boomerang. He uses Leopardon and his spider abilities to fight the Iron Cross Army, a group of suspiciously human-looking aliens from an unnamed world who are led by one Professor Monster. Now, due to his popularity and just how awesome he is, Takuya Yamashiro has become an official character in the multiverse, coming from Earth 51778, and he has appeared in comics fighting against the Inheritors alongside the Spider Army in the Spider-Verse event, and almost all the events that spun off of that. Number 9. Earth X Venom. In the alternate future of Earth 999, basically every single person has superpowers. Things have gone apocalyptic, and in an act of vengeance, the Venom symbiote bonded to the daughter of Peter Parker, May Parker. While her retired and cynical pops ain't too thrilled about it, May does actually have complete control over the symbiote thanks to her advanced and honed spider sense, which was something the symbiote was not expecting to happen. Venom and her father, Spider-Man, go on to join the superpowered police force and fight crime and supervillain threats together. Now eventually, she, after the death of Death itself, goes on to be recruited by Kang the Conqueror as part of a multiversal team to fight the Apocalypse Twins. In addition to her proportional spider powers plus the enhanced spider sense. She gains all the usual symbiote powers plus a few extra, like what seems to be a form of telepathy, and it is believed that her symbiote could go on to mutate even further to gain more powers if Marvel wants to do that. She's one of the coolest looking versions of Venom while also being one of the most capable around. Number 8. Brother Mutant. Unlike almost any other version of the Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Warlock was a male version of the crazy powerful character from Earth 127 appearing in Exiles issue 85 from 2006. But if he wasn't already powerful enough with the usual abilities possessed by the Scarlet Witch, which are a lot, he was also combined with this world's version of Wolverine, Magneto, Quicksilver, and Mesmero to become Brother Mutant, when he attempted to use his magics to imbue Magneto with Wolverine's adamantium skeleton. Now, Brother Mutant became a single entity with all their combined powers, and he went a little bit nuts, vowing to end the life of every non-mutant on the planet Earth. Multiple teams of alternate versions of Wolverine were sent to this alternate Earth to try and correct the mistake that was Brother Mutant even existing, and almost all of these Wolverines failed. The last group of Wolverines alongside the Exiles themselves were able to finally bring him down, eventually. Number 7. General James Howlett. In the second volume of Extreme X-Men, joining a team of multi-dimensional mutants that hunt down evil Professor Xaviers across many dimensions is a much different version of Wolverine. Hailing from the reality of Earth 12025, this version of our feral mutant is the Governor General of the Dominion of Canada and Viceroy to Her Majesty's expedition to Shangri-La. He is like a version of Wolverine who is also mixed with President Theodore Roosevelt. General James Howlett is an adventurer and hero alongside his partner and lover, the demigod Hercules, or Heracles if you prefer. These two shared a love that was built after years and years of working together, and their bond was so strong that Hercules gave James a super cool upgrade in the form of a skeleton made of adamantine, a godly golden metal even stronger than adamantium, making Wolverine completely indestructible and immune to telepathic attacks. Unfortunately, due to the god-on-mortal nature of the relationship, the Greek gods did not approve and banished the pair to Tartarus, where they fought hordes and hordes of lost and damned souls for 4 years straight. Number 6. Spider's Man. On Earth 11580, Peter Parker was taking a tour of a lab that was conducting radiation experiments on a colony of spiders, when lo and behold, Peter fell into the spider habitat and was promptly devoured by the entire colony. Now fear not, because Peter would sort of live on, because in a horrifying twist of events, the spiders had absorbed Peter's consciousness and became a hive mind that formed together to masquerade as a human hero and fight crime, thus becoming Spider's Man. Spider's Man fought crime for a time, but unfortunately developed a taste for human flesh. The spiders managed to hide this for a time and were recruited by the superior Spider-Man in his multiversal quest to defeat the Inheritors. This colony eventually betrayed Otto by joining forces with the Norman Osborn Spider-Man of Earth 44145 to try and destroy the Web of Life and Destiny. This plan failed, but Spider's Man did manage to spread his spiders across the multiverse, giving him an anchor in every different reality, and that is impressive. Number 5. Space Punisher Hulk. To my knowledge, the version of Hulk appearing in the wacky Space Punisher story has only appeared in 2 comic books, but despite that, he has shown that he is completely terrifying. For starters, he is a completely separate entity from Bruce Banner, whose body is literally trapped inside of the Hulk. Hulk, while having all the powers of the Hulk, also had an extra set of arms and is quite a bit taller. He is described as a destructive killing machine, well known for destroying spaceships, brutally defeating the Fantastic Four, taking out Doc Samson with his own hair, biting straight through Sabretooth, and somehow taking out Deadpool by literally tearing his head off, which shouldn't actually work, but whatever. He defeated and ended the life of 6 Watchers single-handedly, broke the leader's back in combat, and he also ripped out Bruce Banner from his own chest. I don't even understand how that works. He is virtually invulnerable, seemingly indestructible, and invincible. He can move faster than light and pass through barriers of existence and reality. The Hulk is scary on a regular day. Space Punisher Hulk? I'll pass. Thank you. Number 4, Novar. Now, to be completely fair, this is not a variant of one character, but he is someone who has held the same title as another hero, and he does come from an alternate universe. Created by Grant Morrison and J.G. Jones, Novar is a Kree from the alternate reality of Earth 200080, and I'm just gonna say, he's weird. Why? Well, because this particular Kree had his DNA altered with the genes of a cockroach. They also gave him nanobiology. This gives him a whole bunch of special attributes: superhuman strength, stamina, agility, and a top speed of 150 miles per hour on land. He is triple jointed, can reroute pain, has hallucinogenic saliva, technopathy, he has mental control over his body, can wall crawl, has super hearing, and can reach faster than light speeds of flight. Is it insane that this even happens? Yes, but it does. While he is more commonly known as Marvel Boy, when he was in our 616 universe, the Skrull Captain Marvel Kinnear inspired Novar to become Captain Marvel, which he did, but as part of Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers before abandoning the team. Number 3, Killmonger the Destroyer. The Destroyer armor is something that I always kind of forget exists. It only appears every now and then, and it's always a huge deal when it does, but I am so used to it only appearing in Asgardian related stories, so needless to say, when it showed up being retrofitted for the Black Panther villain Killmonger in Avengers Forever as part of the multiversal Masters of Evil, I was more than happy to be taken by surprise. We get a better picture of this villain's story in issue 6 of Avengers Forever. When T'Challa was still just a wee little baby, this Killmonger the Destroyer destroyed Wakanda, single-handedly putting the Wakandan gods under his thumb and turning the country's warriors to ash. Killmonger was traveling the multiverse from Earth to Earth, Wakanda to Wakanda, destroying every version of T'Challa that he could, except for the one that would escape to become the Sky Spider, the Vibranium Man, and eventually the Star Panther. King Killmonger would travel on his ship alongside his War Panther mercenaries, using his destroyer armor to level entire cities and entire planets. As part of the Masters of Evil, he was a pretty intimidating foe. Number 2, Tony Stark Sorcerer Supreme. In All New X-Men Annual Number 1 from 2014, Marvel gave us a version of Tony Stark Iron Man from the temporary reality number of 591. Tony, in this reality, successfully brought together the Avengers to permanently end the threat of Thanos on this universe. Because of the Avengers accomplishing that insane feat of strength and saving pretty much the entire universe from the threat of Thanos, the alien races of that universe rewarded the Earth and its heroes with advanced alien technology, allowing the Earth under Tony Stark's watch to become a utopia. Tony himself would start to lean more into his mystical side with all the extra time he had after saving the universe, and eventually he became the Sorcerer Supreme and was able to solve further conflicts without needing to do any kind of real fighting. Last I've heard, this Tony was living youthfully comfortable at 126 years old. Now this isn't the only Tony to become the Sorcerer Supreme, but he is certainly one of the most accomplished, yet he's only actually appeared 6 times in total, and he only shows up for tiny little moments here and there. And finally, in at number 1, it's Mar-Vell of Earth 9997. In this universe, Mar-Vell of the Kree is pretty similar to his 616 counterpart, only after passing on, he found himself in the realm of the dead. Now this is an insane story with a lot of moving parts, but essentially, Mar-Vell ends up recruiting the other dead heroes of the world to a crusade against death itself, all the while being reborn on Earth and collecting powerful artifacts and even destroying the Kree Supreme Intelligence, which bolstered his army in the realm of the dead. Eventually, he defeats both Thanos and Death herself and creates a paradise for the dead in the negative zone. But that creates a whole bunch of problems as he realizes the living can no longer pass away now, so he restores Death. It's truly insane. Mar-Vell had the power of eternity, meaning he basically had limitless power, but also for a time, he had access to, get this, the Ultimate Nullifier, Anti-Metal, the Book of the Vishanti, the Darkhold, the Orb and Eye of Agamotto, Psycho Man's Emotocaster, High Evolutionary's Transmogrification Device, the Silver Surfer's Power Cosmic, Kyle Richmond's Eyes, the Cosmic Consciousness, and the Mandarin's Power Rings. Insane.